Hey, folks, welcome back to More Than Refresh, the T3D sessions. This is another episode of the Postgres Wishlist. James, what do you have as a Postgres wish list for us today?
Well, my main one, I think I've probably talked about before, is that I really want to be able to upgrade Postgres in place without having the old binaries there.
Out. Oh, yeah. So you don't want to
Yep.
use PG upgrade. You want to do an actual in-place upgrade.
Right. Well, or at least I want PG upgrade to be able to understand the previous version's format, which, as I understand it, the major component in place is to spin up the old instance of Postgres, dump out some of the catalog, shut it down, and then the new one can take over.
Yeah, it's a bizarre limitation. It's something. I mean, even people, people that are no longer in the community, but were very respected at the time, like Theo Schlossnagel. We've all talked about, why in the world is this the case? And what it boils down to, I think, I don't think it's how can I put this? I don't think the community is being purposely difficult. I think it's a mindset. Because to do what you are suggesting would absolutely require more code inside Postgres, right? So PG upgrade, on the other hand, gives you the opportunity to not have that. Whatever weird tweaks you got to do, whatever has to happen can happen externally. And if you were to bring this to the community now, the argument will be you have logical replication, right? And then, of course, the counter argument to that is, okay, look, I'm upgrading a single instance. I shouldn't have to spend, a bunch of money replicating, let's say the cloud, replicating in the cloud to a secondary node and then switching over, to which, the community is going to say, well, then don't run in the cloud. Right. So, and they're not wrong, right? I mean, the reality is this is a solved problem from the community's perspective, and they're not wrong that it's a solved problem. That doesn't mean, right, that I disagree with you. I don't. I think I should be able to say, RPM -UVH, boom. And the new RPMs bounce over the top of the old ones. The old ones are removed. And then it asks me, would you like to restart? Or actually, even better, reload. But that would be, I think reload would be quite the challenge. But restart. And then until I hit yes, or even like you said, let's take PG upgrade. Let's say PG upgrade, source, destination, restart at 2 a.m. Hit enter, walk away, boom. And it will alert, because if you're responsible, you're monitoring your shit, right? And it will alert if it runs into an error, and it can roll back and those types of things. I don't ever see it happening. I just don't.
The biggest thing is as you see more people moving stuff into containers, then that's a place where it becomes a little bit painful. Like if you're running on a desktop, it's really not hard to install the version 12 binaries and the version 17 binaries, whatever. But if you're working in a container, then that becomes a less trivial issue or solution. So
well, if you're using Postgres in a container, you're broken. Okay, I'm sorry. You're broken. Yeah. I don't care what anybody says. Postgres doesn't, for production, Postgres does not belong in a container. Deployment testing, development, staging, benching, whatever. It just doesn't belong there. It's not designed for it, right? And don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about, but I'm sorry. I just can't get over it. No, you don't run Postgres in production in a container. You don't do it. So I don't have, I'm sorry, I just don't have a lot of sympathy for folks that do that. In my mind, it's more of an RDS issue, right? So the number one deployed platform for Postgres exponentially worldwide beyond any other installation instance on the universe is already as PostgreSQL. Okay. And when Amazon end of life you should be able to flip a button and binaries suddenly do their thing. The restart happens, and now you're running 13 or 14 or 15 or whatever the case may be. I don't think it should work like 13 to 17, but 13 to 14, 14 to 15, 15 to 16, that should absolutely work, and it shouldn't even be controversial.
Yeah. Well, and even then, the logic for that doesn't necessarily even have to live in Postgres itself. So you talked about, extra code to support it. You could have this separate PG upgrade binary, which is capable of understanding enough of all the previous versions to dump out what it needs. And realistically, the disk format doesn't change much, so that's probably not a huge ask.
So the main thing is that I should be able to upgrade. Let's take 18. I should be able to upgrade from 18 to 19 with no perceivable outage except for the restart. And the only way that happens is if there is code in the core that understands, well, for example, the disk format changes. Now, you're right. Nowadays, the disk format doesn't change that often. It used to change all the time. Yep. But what would need to happen is Postgres needs to be able to read the old format and write the new format. And it might have to do so within the same page structure. So that means you got to have a format version within the page. But other than that, I mean, there really is no, I shouldn't say no reason, but there's no logistical reason at this point. I mean, MySQL has had this solved for decades. Oracle has this solved. Microsoft SQL, everybody but Postgres has this solved, right? And it's funny you bring it up because when we talk about this, the other thing that, every other database is solved, but for some reason Postgres is better, vacuum. No database of modern usage has a vacuum. Right? This is something that came along back in the day with like pick systems where you would have to repack. Right? You don't do that anymore. It's something that's just so legacy. Do you have any others on your wish list?
I say going down, like following the rabbit hole down to more of a pipe dream, which would have to extend beyond something with an in-place upgrade that doesn't involve making a new one, is I would really love to be able to do streaming replication between major versions.
You mean binary streaming replication?
Because logical is great, logical is wonderful, but logical is also complicated to set up. It's on a per database thing. Well, compared to setting up streaming, it's potentially schema changes.
Really? You had a publisher, you had a subscriber, boom.
Well, yeah, as long as your schema supports that. But if you have to go through and make a bunch of schema changes, and if you're talking a shop that doesn't have a particularly large amount of DBA resources or whatever, that's kind of a problem. But if there were a way, even if it wasn't particularly performant, to do a streaming replication that goes to the whole cluster, then that would also ease the upgrade route. That instead of going through and having to set up all of the stuff, which, effectively, you'd only, at least nutshell thoughts of it, you only need a way to interpret the wall, which logical already does.
I was going to say, we can use CDC already, right?
Yeah, but the main part is you need a way to upgrade the cluster in place without creating a new one.
So with streaming replication, your big issue is that since it's a byte for byte replicant, you also replicate the catalog, right? That's the issue. If we had the ability, especially with, logical, if we had the ability to only replicate data in a binary form, which is essentially what logical replication does. But you're right.
Or like I say, even like a hybrid type setup where parts of it go logical, but the parts that are logical are things that Postgres manages. So the schema is set nothing has to worry about and just works. And then user data, it might need somewhere down the road a little bit of way to massage it into a new disk format or something. But
what could be interesting, no, you're going down the right track. The way to solve this is that system level objects are logically replicated and user level objects are binary replicated. And the way you do, and what that enables, because that's the only real issue with as long as the page format doesn't change. That's the only real issue we're talking about here. So being able to say, create publication system, and then and that's on 16, and 18 goes, I still don't think you should be able to do 16 to 18. Let's just say 17. So 17 goes, create subscriber system, and it connects and goes, I'm connecting to 16, so I need to be aware of ABC, and it will pull over and create essentially a version 17 that is 16 in terms of its system objects, and then being able to binary replicate. I could see that as beneficial and performant, frankly.
Yep. And that would scale up to things like RDS, where even AWS and their under the hood stuff could use it in an upgrade path, so that instead of doing that shutdown step and it restarts it into a new one and does the in-place upgrades, it would just flip you over to the new host. So it would ease things in everyone's worlds. But
yeah, I don't see the community ever doing it. But maybe,
it's not
Amazon
going to be a simple thing. But yeah, if Amazon's listening, yeah.
All right, folks, this has been another Postgres Wishlist, the T3D sessions for More Than a Refresh. Thank you, James.
Thank you.